come home from this Super Bowl, my wife could be in a mood. I'll put it that way. Usher does it. Usher does it.
You got the sitter all lined up?
No, my wife's not coming.
Mayo Experience.
Mayo Experience. Mayo Experience. Mayo Experience. Experience.
Welcome to the Pat Mayo Experience. Super Bowl picks. I guess against the spread. It's a pick against the spread. We got some props. We got a prop pool for you. If you're looking to bet some props for the Super Bowl, let the prop sniper do the work for you. RunTheSims.com is completely free for the Super Bowl. You just need to log in with an email address, no credit card, none of that stuff. Just if you own an email address, which if you're watching this on the interwebs, I assume you do, go to RunTheSims.com right now and get yourself, you can use the optimizer, use the Sims, you can use the prop sniper, all the tools available to you. The DraftKings Listeners League for the Super Bowl now available. That link is down in the description. And the Phoenix Open Listeners League is almost full, but that is also available down in the description right now. Jeff and I have our bets coming out. I already did the DraftKings picks with Tambo for golf, but now we got to really focus on the big game, as they tell you to call it, when you do not have the rights to say Super Bowl. Not that we do, but we're not big enough that anyone's going to care and try to sue us for IP infringement. Fingers crossed on that one. Then we'll have the best bets on Thursday with Rob and Cam, and maybe a special show on Friday as well, digging more into the Super Bowl with the Kansas City Chiefs and the San Francisco 49ers. So you good people out there, you smash the like to the episode. You sub to Mayo Media Network and download the audio podcast on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. If you're fired up for the Super Bowl, you leave a 5-star review as well. That would be fantastic news. And Jeff, Tim and I are not going anywhere. We'll have a recap on Monday. We'll have more special shows coming out. Some Cust Corners are dropping very soon. So if you're someone who tunes out after football season ends, you don't need to do that right away. You keep checking the feed because we're going to have shows specifically designed just for you, the good people out there. Geoff Fienberg on the line. Are you ready for the Super Bowl?
I'm ready. That was quite the intro.
I'm fired up.
That's hardcore. Yeah, that was like professional. So it's Super Bowl week, big game ready. You certainly are. I'm excited, I guess. I like football season to be over, so it starts up again, the clock.
Okay. We have a special guest in the studio with me. The Coin is here after its week off. You missed the NFL award show that is still up on Mayo Media Network. Paul is behind the camera and on the line to give one more pick against the spread. It is a Tim and a Gust.
Tim and a Gust.
That is not my name. Apparently, a lot of residue flew up from that award show based on our conversation.
A lot of residue?
Yeah, there were a lot of consequential things that seemed to happen. For example, they're going to the Olympics for hockey players for the next two cycles. After we talked about how I really would rather not see that. There was something else, too.
Yes. You bigged up pickleball, and then...
Oh, yes.
Then Bernhard Langer, who was supposed to play in his final Masters, blew out his Achilles playing pickleball the next day.
That's rough, but, he can just make the next Masters his last Masters.
I mean...
remember how Mariano Rivera was going to have his last season, and then he blew out his ACL catching a fly ball, and so he just came back the next year and did his last season.
I think the big difference at the time, Mariano was 37. Bernhard Langer's 66. I mean, the last anything for Bernhard at this point could be pushing it.
I don't know about that. He was playing pretty well on the senior tour. I think...
I'm just saying that when you're 66 or 67, shit happens sometimes.
That's true. That's true.
So you might not get your last chance to do whatever it is that you're doing. Yeah, he is still playing fine. He would have probably played well at the Masters. But dude can't walk anymore because he played pickleball and blew out his Achilles.
That is pretty ridiculous. But, I've seen people recover fully from Achilles injuries in 3 months. So, what's another 15?
Well, yeah, I suppose that's true. When you have a guy who's, almost 70? I guess Rodgers is almost 72, so that helps.
Longer also looks like he's in phenomenal shape.
I would tend to agree with you. Yes, he does look like he's in phenomenal. Looks like he's been in the sun for his entire life, though.
Yeah, he doesn't quite have George Hamilton syndrome, but I know what you're saying.
Are you excited?
Yeah, his face looks as leathery as a McRib.
Yeah, well, that's a good way to describe it. We'll get into that later. I've had my McRib.
Well, you drove 4 hours to get one. Was it good?
I didn't drive 4 hours to get one. I drove 4 hours and had one, but no, it wasn't good.
Of course not.
It was like I said to Paul, maybe at best a 6 out of 10, but I think I'd probably give it a 5 out of 10.
If you give everything at least 8 out of 10, no matter how bad it is as it pertains to food. How bad was this McRib that it's a 5 out of 10?
It just, the consistency wasn't there, and the sauce was okay, but like the raw onions overpower it, and it slides around on the bun, so the bun to meat bite ratio was way off unless you get your hands all dirty with sauce, which I don't want to do. Like, it wasn't as, now I'm not saying I won't try it again just to make sure, because I might, but it was not nearly what I wanted it to be.
Would you try it again with gloves on?
I
chicken wing?
might.
This is exactly the same thing you said, almost word for word, the last time we had a McRib in 2010.
Well, I mean, I didn't remember that, but I suspect I must have said it because that is certainly how I feel. It was not good. I did not enjoy it.
And the fact that you gave it a 5 while grading on a curve, clearly for it as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's not that great. But at least I didn't go through the drive-through and have the drive-through badger me about how many McRibs I was ordering.
Well,
it was just me in the car, like McDonald seems to be test driving.
Okay, so Geoff, did you see the McDonald's video that was making the rounds? I mean, I'll play it for the people right now.
Hello there, friendo. What can Ronald get for you today?
I guess I'll take 3 McChickens and a McFlurry. Thanks, Ronald.
I don't see anyone else in that car. That all for you, big fella?
Oh, yeah, it is all. It's all for me.
You should meet my friend Grimace. I feel like you two would have a lot in common.
Oh, that's okay. I'm not
No,
that...
has gluttony too breached the depths of thy soul?
So you didn't see the video.
No.
Paul, did you see the video? No. Okay, so Tim, do you want to describe the video then?
So a guy pulls up to a McDonald's, and it's like a video box. It's not just a voice box. And the video box is Ronald McDonald. And the guy places his order. I think he says, I'd like to have 3 McChickens and a large Diet Coke or something. And then the Ronald says, that all for you, big fella? I only see one person in the car. Are you sure you want to order that? Judging. And then he's like, "Better be careful. You'll end up looking like my friend Grimace." And then Grimace shows up on the screen. And I was like, this is everything I have always been afraid of. This right here, that the machine is judging me. But no, I was assured. I was assured by people on this very podcast that wouldn't happen, that the 21-year-old person at the cash register couldn't care less what I order. But now I'm being judged. So clearly this is like a pilot project or something, unless it's a deep fake. And if it is a deep fake, it's an excellent deep fake because I was convinced that this was real.
Tim, it's not a real fucking video, man.
Well, it is a real video.
Well, sure. Yes, it's a real video. It's not real. This isn't happening.
I hope not.
It's not. How did you think that was real?
Because I saw the video and I was like, the person pulled up to the box. So I thought, oh, well, McDonald's is very cutting edge. So maybe they were like beta testing like box video technology. I don't know. And then the judging came out. And then when we talked about it, you were like, well, maybe people shouldn't have 3 McChickens to themselves. And I was like, see, it's all judgment.
I even had to text our friend who was about to convince you that to be like, I can't believe that you think this is real. And I had to text him on the side and be like, no, don't blow this for us.
I still, are you sure it's not real?
Yes, I am positive. Yes, I am. How do I know? Here's what Grimace says. Grimace says, friendo, has gluttony breached the depths of thy soul? You think they're telling you that at a McDonald's drive-thru?
They might be.
They're not, Tim. You know what
Maybe
McDonald's
they're
is?
testing it.
Do you know what McDonald's is in the business of? Selling you as much shit as possible.
Well, I was
Can't
convinced.
believe you thought it was real. I could make that video in 5 minutes.
5 minutes.
Well, I'd have to film me as Ronald McDonald, but yes, to superimpose that on is pretty easy.
So like when I hear on the news and you see like that Facebook is warping people's minds or they'll believe anything on the internet, like they're kind of talking about Tim, right?
Yes.
This
So
is terrifying.
he believed that to be true, but before you got on the line, Geoff, he was complaining about how the live numbers for the ratings must be fake because they weren't high enough.
I'm just skeptical as to how accurate the numbers really
So
are.
he's skeptical of how they measure stuff. This is the same guy that used to leave his TV on so he could try to affect the Nielsen ratings, despite
Well,
not
I
having
thought that's how it worked.
Despite not having a Nielsen box, he's dubious of that. But this random, very clearly parody video from the internet was real. You might have to readjust your priorities, pal.
Him leaving on. Hold on. Because remember, he has to turn all the appliances off. But he would leave his TV on to affect Nielsen ratings.
Well, yeah, if I couldn't see something, I would like a network TV show that I want to get canceled or something, and I couldn't watch it live. I would, if I could, leave my TV on that channel so they'd get my rating point.
The Custy
In
Awards
fairness,
I didn't know how it worked.
The Custy Awards are still open for vote. That link is down in the description. We're still trying to figure out if we can pull off the live town hall debate between Tim and Geoff, where you, potentially the people, can get yourselves onto the show and ask Geoff or Tim a question. If I approve it as the moderator, if I can approve it pre-show, that maybe we can do that. I am doing a live call-in show, by the way, on Wednesday. If people are watching this early, around like 12:30 p.m. Eastern time. I tried it out a few weeks ago. It was all right. Scrimshaw called in, so that worked.
Just saying, I think the percentage chance of a call-in show within this day and age being, a success, I think is not that great. Like hitting a half-court shot, essentially.
Are you insulting the intelligence of our listeners, callers?
No, I think our callers are well above average. But I just know how awful the internet is and how awful some people are on the internet who would make it their life's work to get on a live call-in show and like Richard and Sal style just try to ruin it.
You think someone's calling Pat show like it's Tradio?
It wouldn't surprise me. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but it certainly, in this day and age, I think a mailbag works a lot so you can vet the questions. Or an in-person thing, but like a call-in show, I don't know. Maybe it'll work, but like, I don't know. You've steered away from call-in shows for a long time for this reason.
I have, because I used to work at Sirius, where, someone, I guess, supposedly was vetting the calls, but like those callers were absolute morons. My audience, you, the good people out there for the Pat Mayo experience, feel like you're pretty sharp. So if you ever have,
I don't know. The reflection of the people that you ban for life constantly on your live streams is any indication of the type of people who will pick up the phone. I think it'll just cause you nothing but aggravation.
Oh, that's potentially the case. But, you have to remember that we ban like 1 of every 1,000 people.
But we'd like to ban more.
The overwhelming majority of people leave good comments and are helpful for the show.
That's true.
And
it's a good test case. I'm just not getting my hopes up for it.
Okay. Well, again, Wednesday.
I'm not going to listen anyway, but
Wednesday afternoon on Mayo Media Network, I'll be doing the golf reaction shows. And if you have any questions, like an AMA, you can call in. And if you're terrible, I'll just hit exit. It'll be easy.
Remember when Tim would call local, like public access TV?
Why is that funny? Why is my whole life a joke to you, Jeffrey? Everything I do is just fodder for guffaws and laughs, apparently.
Well,
no.
do you guys?
Yeah, no, apparently.
Do you guys want to jump into the game first and do the spread pick? How do you guys want to do this? Because we have some props we can talk about. There's a props pool that I can point you guys towards if you want to print something out for your Super Bowl party, and you can get some money down on that if you own a printer, I suppose, and hand that out at the party. We have some just DraftKings Sportsbook odds we can go through. I did ask you guys to if we could rank our 5 favorite Super Bowls of our lifetime.
Yeah.
Let's do that. Let's do that first.
I did my prep work.
Favorite Super Bowls of our lifetime. And when I say our lifetime, not like since you were born, that you actively remember. I'm trying to think. I remember some of the early Bills ones from the early 90s because my dad was a Bills fan. They had a party, and I would go with my dad to the party and watch it, but I don't like remember them. The first one I really remember sticking out in my mind that I can kind of remember everything from is the Rams-Titans game in 99.
Really?
Yeah.
No, I have. For me, it's a Super Bowl earlier than that. It's Falcons and Broncos. It's the first one I can really remember. I still remember the Shannon Sharp injury in that game. No, that's the first game I really remember watching tip to buzzer.
So like Pat, like first like memories of the Super Bowl are those what I feel were the Bills Cowboys ones, so which would have been the second half of the Bills 4. And again, big neighborhood parties, like lots of adults, lots of kids. Like that's my first memory of it. Like maybe even the Michael Jackson halftime show to a certain extent in Pasadena. But the first one that I like remember, I think would be the one where we keep going in a chronological or in an order in reverse. I think it would be Packers Broncos for me in the Elway helicopter.
So you don't remember the Chargers Super Bowl at all then? Because that happened.
No, I do, but it's not like I was 10 years old. I was at that Super Bowl. We got tickets like the day before for nothing. A Super Bowl in Miami featuring a 49ers team like going to their 6th Super Bowl. So they had market fatigue versus like a 19-point underdog in the Chargers. We literally I remember my uncle arranged got face value tickets. We all sort of jumped on planes from different parts of the country. That's like a personal memory. I remember more like Fan Fest in that game than the actual game. I remember halftime show and waving my glow stick, but I wasn't like deep into it. I was there though.
I want to hear from you people in the comment section what your 3 favorite Super Bowls that you can remember. I'm going to go first on this one. Where is it?
We doing this bronze, silver, gold, or gold, silver, bronze?
I was just going to say we do a top 5. We can do a top 3 if we want to for the people.
Or whatever.
We can
Just
do
what order?
5. I'm just going to go with my favorite one that sticks out in my mind immediately. And a lot of it has to do at the same time, like who were you watching it? Was a fun party. Like that actually plays into it a little bit more so than just the product on the field. But I think Steelers over Cardinals in 2009 was the best Super Bowl.
That'd be number 1 for me.
It had
wouldn't be number 1 for me. Although I like that Super Bowl a lot. Eagles Patriots in 2018, the one we covered. That was a fantastic game. I was at a really fun party, and the Patriots lost in what was a great game. So I think that's my favorite.
Okay. I'm with Pat. The most entertaining game I think I can remember was that one. And even doing this game, I kind of like did a went through the list almost when we were talking, did like word association quickly in my head and with all of the games. And that James Harrison play, I think might be the greatest Super Bowl play of our life. Maybe the Edelman catch, the Tyree catch. But that Harrison play is, I hate that Tyree catch so much.
You're saying Tyreek or Tyree?
David Tyree.
Oh, I love that catch.
Rodney Harrison, your nickname's the Hitman. Like you let a guy catch that ball, I don't give a shit. But that James Harrison play, that game, best.
So yours was the Philly special game, Tim?
Yeah, Super Bowl 52.
We could have went to that game. We were there, and we
could have, but like most people who go to cover the Super Bowl, we left on Saturday.
Yeah, we had to get out of Dodge, so we weren't stuck there for like 2 days.
Yeah, that I think is my favorite.
So
then I had trouble, splitting hairs, but go ahead.
Okay, so I had an easy 3 for me. So my number 2 was New England 32, Carolina 29. That game was awesome. You had some Steve Smith Jr. in that game, some Jake Delhomme action, and my God, it's been so long. I was going to say Mohamed Sanu, but that's not his name.
No, Mushin
Muhammad was awesome. He was awesome in fantasy that season too. He had
people forget the first half of that game was terrible.
Terrible. Yeah, but you remember what happens when it gets exciting, and it was awesome in the second half.
Yeah, it was a good game. The Patriots. Honestly, my hatred of the Patriots is such that none of the games the Patriots won it can be on that list. Most people would put Super Bowl 49 on there if they're winning against the Seahawks because it had everything, or 51. I can't. Both of those bring back bad memories to me. So I for perfectly selfish reasons, I can't have them on there.
All right. So what was your number 2?
I thought long and hard about this because I really wasn't sure which way to go. And I decided that my number 2 one was last year's Super Bowl because it too had everything. It was a fantastic game, back and forth, long plays, controversial calls. I didn't have any emotional stake in the game, which probably made it better. It was a great game. I really enjoyed it, and we had a fun party. So that's part of it. So last year's Super Bowl is second for me.
Geoff?
I'll go back to the beginning of the Patriots, like the post 9/11 Super Bowl with the Vinatieri walk-off, kind of the boring game. Greatest show on turf. Yeah, that was 2001. 2002, I guess.
Yeah, 2002. New England 20, St. Louis 17. I watched that one, Dominican Republic. I remember that very vividly. Okay, so my number 3 is I can't even really remember the game all that well. It was the first time I hit basically everything that I bet on. And I think a lot of people did that too. I hit Jordy Nelson first touchdown, Aaron Rodgers MVP, and Green Bay Packers to beat the Pittsburgh Steelers. I had so much money the next day. It was amazing, Geoff.
Yeah, I feel also defensive special team touchdown. That's the most. We weren't even together back then. That was the best Super Bowl I ever had, profit wise. I absolutely crushed it and just rode those Packers so hard, like Aaron Rodgers in God mode. So I thought about picking that game, but I was sort of like going outside of like the betting element.
Yeah, so
but I love that game so much. It's funny to think about that game. They have not been back to Dallas. You thought when Jerry built that maybe Dallas could get. There was like an ice storm in Dallas that week, but I've read the reason they haven't been back to Dallas is they had a lot of problems. Remember the ticket situation for that one?
I do not.
They oversold the game or really screwed up with tickets.
What are they, an airline?
But pardon?
Are they an airline?
No, I remember there's a huge ticket controversy in that game. The Cowboys, that stadium really screwed up. And I saw one of the reasons maybe they haven't gone to Dallas is that there's like a design flaw in the building and how the sun shoots in there and they can't go open air for the Super Bowl. Yeah, I don't know. That had me thinking why we haven't been back to Dallas because I thought about that game a lot when I was making this list. But that's as memorable a game as a memorable Super Bowl night with the boys as I've had.
What's your number 3, Tim?
It was for the longest time a toss-up because these are the 2 Super Bowls that I predicted so right and I was so good about. It was between New Orleans, Indianapolis, and Carolina, Denver. And I decided to go with Carolina, Denver because it brings back really warm memories because I thought Denver was going to win the game outright and they were 7-point dogs. I came on this show and said I thought Denver was the better squad. I really didn't like that Carolina team that season. I was rooting against them a lot. And so for them to get, just met in a game where Peyton Manning gets to play his last game, it was the first Super Bowl that we had seen in like 15 years where like the first half was played in sunshine, which is awesome. It looks great. And, that was a close game for most of it until the defense really asserted itself and dominated what was supposed to be an unstoppable offense. It's weird. I like Super Bowls that people don't like. I love the Tampa Bay Oakland Super Bowl.
You like shitty Super Bowls.
Yeah. The only bad one I don't like, I didn't like this Seattle Detroit one, or Seattle Pittsburgh one. I had no truck for that. I love the Chicago Indianapolis one. I love the Tennessee St. Louis one. I like weird Super Bowls. I like the Cincinnati and LA Rams Super Bowl. That was fun. But yeah, Denver, Carolina, because it brings back warm memories because I hit that one dead solid perfect and I felt really good about it.
Geoff, we lost so much money on that game.
Yeah, even still after that day, I think I was still betting more money on Danny Willett because I tweeted like, if you won money on Denver last night, go bet Danny Willett to win the Masters. It was still over 100 to 1. So I didn't win on that game, but I feel like I won on the golf tournament that was that day and then blew it all on that game. And Tim loves piling on to Cam Newton and how he didn't dive on a ball. Like that's my like when I like just quick word association that game, it's Peyton Manning, it's the Cam Newton and the controversy of him not diving on the ball. But now I don't even remember if he actually could have gotten the ball or if that's just like a narrative memory that he quit.
He could have tried
quit, but then he was like a baby at the post game. I remember that.
Another good one was the blackout game when Baltimore beat the Niners.
Yeah, again, a game that was awful for the first half, but really good in the second half. And the blackout sort of switched it all around.
I mean, most Super Bowls kind of go that way, that one team or even both teams are just overwhelmed by the moment until they really get into a rhythm of the game. It doesn't get good.
See, I feel like last year's was an exception. That was high scoring from the opening gun, and it was back and forth and back and forth and back and forth.
It's because it had
which is what made last year so amazing.
It's funny.
It was just fun.
The main thing that I remember from last year's game is how bad the field was.
Oh, the main thing I remember is the massive fumble that Hurts gave away for a 50-yard touchdown and the pass interference call that ended the game for the Eagles. I remember Kadarius Toney playing out of his mind and playing excellently, and he will play excellently again this week.
Before he fumbled that ball, Hurts
was MVP.
No, but before he fumbled the ball, they had a tush push play that they got a false start on.
Yes.
So they move it. It was a sequence of events. I was like, oh my God, that fucking false start. Like lying back, reflecting on that night last year, like how much that false start.
I think in a losing cause,
I do remember
he should have been MVP last year, even though they lost. I think that MVP should have been his. The same way that it should have been Terrell Owens when the Eagles lost to the Patriots.
Well, last year's a bad memory because me and my boys had a big super ticket, like a party ticket, and all we needed left was the Devontae Smith touchdown, and he like caught it and tripped or something.
Oh, yes, I remember that now. Oh.
And that was a huge party ticket. Like the corpses that were lying on the floor of our Super Bowl party after that play was just that. But in and of itself, we didn't win the money, but the memory of it to me still has a value. Not quite like that ticket would have paid us, but yeah, like Pat, the field and the fumble, I guess, are what rings supreme for me from last year. But it's weird. I don't know about you, Tim. I mean, you don't maybe participate in the extracurriculars that some others. I remember the games from like 98 through 010, 015 better than I do like the last 7 years. Like just a bit of a blur to me the last 7, but I remember all of like the ones through my adolescence perfectly.
You remember everything very vividly before you had kids is what you're saying. I can relate to that.
Yeah,
maybe
so I don't share that. So I don't share that experience. You give me a Super Bowl before Super Bowl 25 or so, or after 25, I probably can give you a pretty good synopsis of what happened in that game.
Here's what I remember from last year's game. The field was bad. The Chiefs ended up winning, and our friend told a, quote, hypothetical story at the party that ended with the line, well, it's not gay if you're not gay.
That did happen. That did happen.
Just someone looked at him and was like, is this story about you? He's like, no, yeah. It was amazing. I wish we could tell it on the show, but I think we'd get canceled from YouTube.
Yeah, we cannot tell that show. We cannot tell that story on the air.
It was amazing.
We can't tell 90% of that person's stories on the air.
That is true. And yeah, you get to see him once every 6 months, and boom, you just get magic just dropped on you with stuff like this. It's fantastic news. All right. Let's get into the game and try to make a pick or two here. San Francisco is a 2-point favorite against the Kansas City Chiefs. I am taking the San Francisco 49ers -2 in this game. But I think that the Chiefs are going to win the first half. And I think I think this game plays out almost identically to what we saw against the Ravens in the AFC Championship game, except the Niners are actually going to pound them in the second half. And that leads me to, I think that Debo goes absolutely off in this game. When like Zay Flowers was giving them fits a little bit down the field, when the Ravens were really cooking against the Chiefs, it was with these like slant routes over the middle. They make one guy miss, then no one could tackle anyone. There was just so much room. And the Niners have a better off. I mean, the Ravens have a good offensive line, but you can see what they were doing. They were rushing, they were blitzing from all sorts. They were getting Lamar flummoxed, and then the routes that the Ravens were running were too far down the field, and then he wasn't able to like pick people off. And when they started having success, like towards the end of the game, Tim, like with Beckham over the middle, Zay Flowers over the middle, that I just think that these are all Debo routes, and it just takes one guy to miss. So Niners -2, Debo MVP at 20-1.
Okay, you are like a symphony in my ear talking up Debo. I'm in on everything Debo for this game, Pat. Like all my favorite props center around Debo. They've had 2 weeks off. His props going into the last game were cut in half because it seemed like he was 50-50 to play. He still had 3 carries. He still had 88 yards. In the game where they had the extra week of preparation leading into at the start of the playoffs for round 1, he got hurt like 4 minutes in. They've got extra time for this one. Geez, I love everything. I think Debo's going absolutely off. I hope. I don't know about the final score, but I think Debo's going to have a monster game. Christian McCaffrey will be key. I have my 49ers future, so I'm going to bet the minus. So I do lean -2, but I can also see myself playing some things with like Chiefs on alt lines. Because I'm scared shitless Brock Purdy's just not ready for the day. And Patrick Mahomes, I know will be ready for the day. So like Brady 2+, Purdy 2+ picks with like a Chiefs alt line is also something I'm thinking about maybe playing with. Yeah. Despite being on the 49ers.
Yeah, so I mean, I like the Niners -2. I like Debo, but I do, Tim, like the first half under in this game.
Okay. I like the first half under with you. I couldn't be more opposed. In the side that you're taking, I think it continues to perplex me why a San Francisco team which played so pitifully against Green Bay and so pitifully against Detroit should come in against Mahomes and lay points into him in a neutral site. I find that to be very confusing. Andy Reid is coming off a bye. I believe he's 28-4 coming off a bye. So that's a big step in his direction. How many opportunities do you get to take points with Patrick Mahomes? Very few against Brock Purdy. I mean, honestly, if you're betting the Niners to win the game, I think you should sprinkle $1 or $2 on Sam Darnold plus 200-1. I actually wouldn't be shocked if he got hurt. If Purdy either got hurt or something, and it's happened before in a big playoff game, Darnold came in and won the game, and like that would be the perfect capstone on your season. I'm recommending if you like the Niners, you should like sprinkle $1 or $2 on him for MVP. I would not be shocked if it happened. But if we look at the actual game, I just think that the 49ers are just up against it. The quarterback play is significantly in the Chiefs' favor. The coaching is significantly in the Chiefs' favor, and that's really all there is to it. I just don't think that the 49ers match up very well against the Chiefs. I remember that game they played through, or the game that Baltimore just destroyed Kansas City 4 or 5 weeks ago, and it just exposed them that if you want to get tough and physical and methodical with them, they just don't have an answer. And I think that's exactly what Kansas City is going to do to them. And I think that, yeah, I mean, the last Super Bowl was 31-20 between these two teams. I like a Chiefs alt line here. I think if you can get it to like -4.5, -5, I think that's a smart bet. Taking the Chiefs and the points is a smart bet. I think the 49ers are in tough here. I don't see many paths for them to win, and I don't think they should be favored. I really don't.
I mean, there's so many fair points there that like gives me the heebie-jeebies when you think, yeah, maybe the Chiefs do have better quarterback, better coaching, better defense. What on earth am I doing like leaning any other team? And it's weird watching, any of the content or stuff from people down there at Radio Row, like from the gambling guys. It's almost like people like the 49ers, but people don't want to bet against the Chiefs, and everyone's coming on there saying, it's like
let's circle back to that defensive point, because in their last 3 playoff games, The Chiefs took an electric offense in the Dolphins, Bills, and Ravens and absolutely smothered them. They couldn't do anything in the second halves in particular. I mean, and the 49ers offense, who I think is on par with those offenses, but certainly not better than any of those offenses.
So you don't think that hold on, full stop. You don't think that the Niners offense is better than what you called a pathetic Dolphins offense?
I think their performance was pathetic, but I think it's in part because the Chiefs absolutely had a perfect game plan for them. And the Bills and the Ravens certainly have better offenses than what San Francisco has out there. And the Niners have a good offense, don't get me wrong, but they're not as good as Buffalo and Kansas City and the Ravens, both of whom were at home in their playoff games, both of whom did nothing against this Chiefs D. This Chiefs D is going to win the Chiefs a Super Bowl. In my mind, there was no doubt of that. Mahomes doesn't have to do a whole lot. As long as he doesn't play, as long as he plays okay, I think the 49ers are drawing to an inside straight.
The X factor in this game, it kind of has to be Christian McCaffrey, because the overload blitzes, the disguises that I worry Spagnuolo is going to be able to do to Purdy if McCaffrey isn't effective does scare the shit out of me. And then I do see maybe the game playing out exactly as Tim speaks of it. I just, McCaffrey's got to get going. He's got to steal from his dad some Terrell Davis freaking juju, and he has to be a star here, or San Francisco is probably in big trouble.
Is Chase Young going to stand there with his hands on his hips? Is Chase Young going to stand there with his hands on his hips again?
Okay.
While somebody runs for a touchdown?
See, this is what I
lack of toughness.
Yeah, but this is what I worry about the most with the 49ers. It's not the offense. You can say that the Dolphins, Bills, and Ravens had a better offense than the Niners. Statistically, that's not true. The Niners had the best offense in football, and it wasn't.
I believe the Ravens did.
They did.
The Ravens did, I believe, and by DVOA, I believe the Ravens did. I actually don't think it was.
I'm looking at DVOA. The Ravens were fourth. The Niners are first.
That tape of the 49ers, the tape of the 49ers trying to tackle on running plays in that NFC title game is like frightening. It is frightening. The eye in the sky on the effort to tackle seemed to be a problem. And if you're not going to want to tackle Pacheco, you are in big trouble. So I do kind of agree with Pat in the sense that maybe it is that 49ers defense that might control the game, but might decide the game. I'm scared shitless for everything 49ers, but I'm betting against. This isn't like tinfoil hatting Taylor Swift, because I love Taylor Swift. I don't believe in any of those like insane Spocks or fixed conspiracies of that level, but there's something like that. I don't know. You want to bet against the juju, the magic dust that seems to be Mahomes, and this fairy tale thing going on there? Like, I'm scared shitless.
Yeah, and
Pacheco is my MVP as well. I think Pacheco wins it.
I mean, he is the one guy I would think, unless there's some sort of like weird Travis Kelce outlier game where, I mean, we talked about this in the NFC.
Yeah, I don't want a pass catcher.
Yeah,
it could be like the Chiefs could do like 2 pick sixes, and then that guy gets like a Malcolm Smith.
Sure, if you have an extreme outlier, that's always the case, but it's far more likely that a random offensive player, skill player on the Niners wins MVP versus not giving it to Mahomes.
Agreed. I know. I definitely agree with that.
Because all things being equal, especially in the game that Tim's talking about, where the Chiefs' defense shows up, and let's say they win 24-14, like unless Pacheco runs for 3 touchdowns, Mahomes still probably wins MVP in that game.
Maybe if he's like 21 for 115 and touchdown, and Mahomes doesn't light it up, and he's won 2 MVPs already, just like Brady didn't get the 3rd MVP when he could or couldn't have. Maybe they'll give it to Pacheco.
Maybe, but I would still say that's probably a little bit doubtful. And there's a reason that Mahomes is the heavy favorite to win MVP.
I get it. Oh, yeah, I get that. Totally.
But yeah, it'll really depend on how the Niners defense holds up and what kind of adjustments. They've been good at making adjustments at halftime, and eventually their offense gets incredibly difficult to stop. It's just how long does it take for them to get going? And by the time they get going, is it going to be too late? I actually see this game being the complete inverse of what we saw the last time around between these two teams, where the Chiefs end up taking a lead in the 3rd quarter, and then all of a sudden San Francisco becomes unstoppable offensively. That's what I think happens.
I have seen very little discussion about the total. And it feels like it hasn't really moved. And it feels like if you just watching the Chiefs this year, the Chiefs would win, it would play to the under, like certainly, would it not?
I would think so, but it does feel like one of those games where it's going to be under. The under is going to be smooth sailing, and then the dam will break, and there's just points galore. Sort of almost the inverse.
Yeah, it was 20-10 in the fourth quarter last time, and these two, the game was 31-20, and it hit 51 and went over.
Yeah, or it could be something like we saw with the Bill, like sort of the inverse of the Bills and Chiefs game, where like the defenses couldn't stop anyone in that game in the second quarter, and then we get to the third quarter, and then no one can do anything offensively anymore. So I would be worried about the total, but I do agree with you that if the Chiefs win, I would lean under in that spot. If you like the Chiefs, you probably like the under, because the Niners probably have to win somewhat of a shootout. And so I mentioned the Niners defense. So the Niners defense goes one way, but to kind of look at it, like the Packers offense towards the back half of the season was, a top 5 offense in football. Detroit was a top 10 offense in football the entire way through. The Chiefs offense just isn't that good. That maybe that can let San Francisco's D off the hook a little enough that their offense can take over. So is the Niners' number 1 ranked offense versus the Chiefs' D, which is top 5, is that a better matchup for them if we try to like flip it around, where the Niners defense has fallen off over the past 6 weeks as we head into the playoffs, and the Chiefs offense really hasn't gotten any better. It's like the 12th best offense, 13th best offense, with the best quarterback in the world, mind you, and now his pass catchers actually catch the ball. But does that drop off from some of the offenses that they've been playing help out their defense a little bit? Because realistically, like they were so concerned about like Gibbs and they were so concerned about Detroit doing something to take the top off the defense last time around. They gave up every running lane possible. Like the Chiefs, yes, they took the top off the defense with MVS against Baltimore in the AFC Championship game on the last play, because Baltimore had to sell out to stop them from getting a short first down. Like that became open. As good as Mahomes is, the pass catchers, at least way down the field on deep shots, are not good on Kansas City. Like that's not a play that they have in their bag versus some of the other teams that the Niners have played so far this season, in the playoffs at least.
I mean, that is a great point. The speed, also the team speed, outside of Rashawn Rice, which I don't want to downplay how he could be a speed demon, and just getting him the ball quickly in the flat can create some lovely plays. The overall team speed in the offensive skill position units on both the Packers and the Lions, you're right, Pat. The Chiefs just don't employ it. They don't have it. They in ways are easier to suffocate. Maybe we are sort of just unfairly looking at the 49ers defense, but they're going against Patrick Mahomes, so
that becomes the entire thing. And listen, the money right now at sportsbooks is coming in on the Chiefs. It's, again, the exact opposite of what happened in the Chiefs and Ravens AFC Championship game when everyone bet the Ravens, and now people feel foolish for not betting on Mahomes when he was getting so many points. Now he's getting fewer points this time around, but you can bet Chiefs still plus 105. There's something fishy about this, Tim, that all the money's on the Chiefs, yet the line won't move. You can, bet $100
Oh, I agree.
to win 105 on Kansas City. Something just in me says that like the Niners might end up winning this by like 13.
I certainly think San Francisco is the sharp side. Insofar as there can be one in a Super Bowl, I would agree with that. I just have trouble seeing as many paths available for San Francisco to win this game than I do for the Chiefs. I just think with 2 weeks to prepare, Spagnuolo on that defensive side is just going to make Purdy's life a living nightmare. And Mahomes is just is about to step into the real limelight here. So yeah, that's what I think is going to happen.
It does feel like it's got a total sharp v square setup. I mean, simply because one side has the best player on earth and the pop culture, public angle, I guess. And the 49ers, to the point, people are like, what's going on? People are betting the Chiefs. The line is this. It does seem like some very sharp, respected syndicate money is on the 49ers. So the perception of those people who have bet the 49ers being smart, I think, is outweighing at least the book's respect to like care about the public money. I do think though, Pat, that in this world of like made for TV sports books, there will probably be some books come Sunday where it's just a straight up pick 'em, where they've got so much Chiefs Mahomes money that maybe it is like a pick 'em on some of these made for TV operations.
See,
The books are certainly going to need the 49ers, I think.
maybe they take so much money and people dumping on stupid props that they're going to be fine.
Oh, yeah, sure. But I think that if they had their druthers, they would like to have San Francisco.
Sure, if
The books would be happiest with an under where all the key players play to their prop unders.
Yeah, that 13-3 Rams Patriots game. There's a Super Bowl that I hated.
That Super Bowl sucked. That is probably the second most profitable Super Bowl I've ever had. Patriots and
Fair
the
enough.
under just smashed it.
And Zerline missed a kick, which cost me a square at the very end. Like, I was so mad. I hated that game. And then there was a chance at the very end to have this great moment. Like, oh, my win a big square, a huge square. And he missed the kick. Oh, that's a bad Super Bowl memory for me. Bad.
That was right after my son was born. He was born 3 weeks before that. It was just me. My wife was asleep. I watched the game, like staying up with him. I think it's like the only Super Bowl I've ever watched by myself.
Who was MVP that game other than Belichick?
Oh, Edelman was. Edelman had like 12 or 13 catches.
Yeah,
it wasn't Brady.
He was the only offensive piece in that game that did anything.
Yeah, although I think the touchdown was the running back. What's his name? Oh my goodness, Kevin. No, the running back who should have won MVP in the Falcons Super Bowl.
James White.
James White. I think James White scored the touchdown in that game.
He did love scoring touchdowns. This is true.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that brings us to the midway point of the show. Oh, yes, this is only the midway point of the show, which means it's time for a mini version of Cust Corner.
Cust Corner, it's Cust Corner. Cust Corner, it's Cust Corner. He's got the hottest takes with the highest stakes. He should be president of the United States, but it's Cust Corner, it's Cust Corner. Cust Corner.
Okay, I need to address something that was said on a show a couple of weeks ago. That everyone on this show, except for me, was invited on to talk about. And there were things said that were so jarring to me that it could not be left unaddressed. The broadside smear against Nachos that was presented on that show was so egregious that I don't know where to begin. I mean, I didn't realize that everyone believes that they're a culinary master and that their nachos are better than anywhere else they're going to get nachos. I don't dispute that your homemade nachos are better than many places, but they're not better than everywhere's. There are some places that do nachos much better than you could ever dream. And I like getting nachos when I go out to a restaurant for an appetizer. I think it's a great appetizer. And it's on basically every single menu of places that you go for appetizers because it is a beloved thing to have. So instead of drive-by smearing nachos as oh, can you imagine ordering that at a restaurant? A lot of people do because they're awesome. And that had to be said. That had to be addressed because the general tenor of that conversation was, "Oh, I could do it better at home." Well, the ones out at the restaurant, the top few are okay, but the bottom ones are bad.
Which is true.
Or maybe
that is absolutely
the
the case.
You've had some bad experiences.
As someone who used to make nachos in a kitchen for a restaurant, they let basically the dishwasher do that.
I believe that you had bad experiences with them, but don't tell me that somehow you can always do it better.
Listen, I can make nachos better at home because I can spend more time to do it. Because
in some places,
then what place would you say that has a good layering system?
I have been to several restaurants where I think the nachos are absolutely phenomenal.
You think
I don't think
you just gave
the
shittiest thing that you've ever eaten a 5 out of 10.
It wasn't the worst thing I've ever eaten, but it wasn't very good. I'm just here to say the criticism of people, and that's the way I took it. My feelings were hurt. The criticism, it seemed, of people who order nachos at restaurants is what was being put on the table, and that I will not stand for it.
Well,
I will not have it.
I mean, that is a very main character take there, pal.
That's what I took away from criticizing people.
Well, I mean,
and I won't have it.
Listen, I mean, it looks like Paul plugged himself in, so I think that he has something to say about this. But I mean, one, nachos are a shareable. You should never order nachos as a single person at a restaurant.
I've done it.
Well, they're made for 5 fucking people, Tim. Do you just down the entire thing?
Remember at Cabot? I got the nachos as my meal at Cabot, and they were delicious.
Yeah,
See, I back that move.
I'm shocked.
Thank you, Geoff.
I'm shocked.
Thank you, Geoff.
So I'm shocked that you remember that because you stumbled back to the room after finishing like 4 of them.
That was I most of it that I had imbibed much more than I realized I had imbibed. By
Yeah,
that
Like
point.
I back the concept of Buddy ordering nachos purse and letting the waitress know that's my main course.
That-
like I love, like,
But that's
I don't know
also
that I
that's
would do
also
that.
not just what Tim said. Tim said at the very onset of this as an appetizer. It's not. An
I love them that
appetizer.
way too.
But so you would eat an entire plate of nachos as an appetizer and then eat a meal?
No. As an appetizer, it's a shareable. As a meal, it's just for you.
I think we need to get Grimace back out here. So, Paul, what were you going to say?
I was just going to say that like 85, 90% of nachos are like pretty mid. Like you could do a better job at home if you take time. But like there's like places like Sneaky D's in Toronto
Good
that
example.
it's like
Paul knows.
those
Paul
are
knows.
like off the chain. You could not do a better job than what they do. They like stack the entire plate. Like everything is covered proper. Like it's next level.
Not according to Geoff and these guys. They think
No, hold on.
terrible.
I'm not as anti. I love I even like the most dusty nachos. Give me like 7-Eleven, just the chip tray and the hot
Cheese?
liquid
I
queso.
support that.
Oh,
Yes.
I support that.
The movie
I
theater
support that.
queso that an old colleague of ours got fired from a movie theater because they caught him on camera just going in for the queso, the Mexicasa. I love that, but I only agree with Pat's point in the sense that when you do order them for sharing, like the point I related to the most is you have this whole great tray of nachos and like 4 to 6 chips are optimal, and the rest is just like you're just riffraffing. But it's like an episode of Entourage. Like there's no bad nachos. Like it's good.
It
Even
seemed
chips
there was a
are
criticism of
good.
people. There was a criticism that underlined that whole conversation, which was centered towards people who order
He's
nachos
saying it's
when
an
they go out.
overrated. I believe the take
I
is like
don't
it's an
agree.
incredibly overrated appetizer.
And that, I think, is a
there was
foolish take.
there was no criticism of people who order nachos as a part of that discussion. You just found it very hurtful because it didn't agree with you, and if you don't agree with something, you take it as a personal attack.
I took that as a personal attack.
You
Not
find
just me.
everything personal. You think you getting 2 McDonald's combos at once and it's saying 2 for 1 is a personal attack, though.
Well,
So
they're
you
revving
see
up for it,
personal
aren't they?
attacks everywhere.
Revving up for it.
You see personal attacks everywhere.
Only where they are.
Everywhere.
Like, I don't think that this was an intentional slight. I just thought that the tone and the tenor underlining that critique of nachos was that, like, you're
you
foolish.
also saw that plate of Fountain Blue nachos and we're trying to be like, those aren't so bad.
Those looked pretty good. Now,
But
the
you lose
quantity
credibility, too.
Oh, hold
You-
on. And I talked
you
about
lose
this with Cam on
credibility.
Twitter. I think the quantity was bad, but the quality of the nacho chips themselves looked fantastic. Now, there wasn't enough of them. I agree.
The
5 or
quantity
6
was actually
was not
perfect.
enough.
That was actually kind of perfect with how done up that they were and how much were on them. Like 5 or 6 was fine. Like, how much?
Oh, no, I
how
need
many
like
fucking do you need
25
to-
of those.
You need 25 nachos? Good Lord, man.
Of those. Oh, yeah, for sure.
Paul, you wanted to say something?
We're not eating dainty. We're not eating dainty when we're eating nachos.
I mean, I don't think you've ever eaten dainty in your life. Again, we're gonna have like a grimace pop up every time about you saving your soul or something like that. Paul?
Yeah, my question was for Tim, and I was wondering about this plate of nachos he had while you guys were golfing, and all I was gonna ask is, are those all for you there, big fella?
That's very mean. That's very mean. I'm still not convinced that that's a deep fake. But anyway, maybe it is. I don't know what to say other than, like, I support nachos being eaten in a restaurant as an app or as a main, however you want it. I'm pro nacho. The people who left that podcast feeling like sad that people were looking down on them for ordering nachos. I'm here to say not everyone on this podcast feels that way. Some of us are your champions. If you like nachos, vote Geoff. If you don't like nachos, vote for
I
me.
love nachos.
We all
So you
like
didn't stand up
nachos.
for the nacho. You didn't stand up for nachos when you had the chance.
I think it is. I agree.
You went along with them.
it's an overrated appetite. Like I don't know. I like making them at home because I don't like as much of the stuff they put on them at the restaurant. And then I feel like, you know what I feel ashamed sometimes about, Tim? When I see this like dish at the restaurant and I'm like, yeah, I want that, but I don't want that on it. I don't want that on it. Put that on the side, that on the side. Like that's embarrassing.
Oh, that doesn't bother me. I don't have no issues. I have no issues with that.
Yeah, we have a friend who not only he wanted to share nachos with, and listen, I do think that there's a big difference between like, if you're at a bar or a pub, then yeah, nachos make a ton of sense. If you're getting a ton of people, it feeds a ton of people. You can kind of pick away at it. You don't necessarily even need plates. You just kind of grab at it. But like going to a restaurant and then ordering nachos seems kind of strange to me. But unless it's one of the ones that like Sneaky D's is actually a perfect example of that because they kind of specialize in nachos. That's kind of what they're known for. So it's kind of like a nacho bar. So of course theirs are going to be good. But we had a friend at a bar. We were going to watch football, Geoff, and he was like, hey, we should get nachos. Everyone's like, sure, let's get nachos. And it came to order and he got everything taken off the nachos besides cheese and chicken.
If I remember it correctly, and I could be wrong, I remember him looking around at the table and saying, who wants to split nachos? And another friend of ours said, yeah, I'll split them with you. And as the server comes around, he says, we'll get an order of nachos, please. Just chicken and cheese. And the other guy went, oh. That's how I remember it. Immediately regretting his decision to split it with somebody whose dietary requests constitute only cheese and meat.
This is the same guy, Geoff, who, when we went on our golf trip this year, he ordered some sort of pasta dish that had onions in it, and it always comes with onions in it, and he didn't ask for no onions because it didn't say onions on the menu, but it's well known to have onions in it, and then he like lost it at this waitress at a golf course. Yes,
brought
Paul.
the menu up to the person and said, where does it say onions on the menu?
You show me where it says onions.
Sometimes onion in like a pasta dish is just in the sauce, like the sauce, like it's in the sauce.
That's exactly what it was. But yes, Paul.
As someone, I'm celiac, so I can't have like wheat products. It is bad form for you if you have dietary restrictions to offer to split anything if you're going to change the order. In my opinion, I think like
you just have dietary restrictions.
You don't
he
split
just doesn't
with
like to eat these things.
Oh well, then he's just a child.
Yes, that is. Well, he doesn't eat vegetables. He's 40.
But I think you can make exceptions. Like if I say let's split nachos, but can we hold the olives?
Sure.
I don't think that's a big deal.
Listen, you can come with a.
I'm not telling you we're going to pick 6 or 7 things off, but maybe there's one thing on there I really don't like. For example, I can't stand black olives. If you want them that badly, we'll have them. I'll pick them off. But I'd rather we just not have them all together.
Yeah, and I feel like most people are on that. I don't think that people like black olives so much that they will fight you on that. Like, I don't mind black olives. If it's on it, I'll eat it. If it's not on it, I really don't care. That if you said no black olives, I would be fine with that.
I've also said this before. I believe on this show, it might be disgusting to some people, but I wish Canada had the same affinity for liquid cheese that our friends in the States do. Because, man, that shit gets me every time.
Isn't that stuff great? I was in the States earlier this week.
I was in pretzel. There's so many layers. Oh,
I was briefly in the States this week, and oh my goodness, the food is so good, Geoff. You forget how good the sweet teas are, and like being asked how you want your hamburger cooked. It's something you just don't hear in Canada. Like the food is so good, and great portions.
No, see, I have rallied against this, and I've never noticed it more since I moved back here with you people, about people complaining about the lack of food that they get. It's like, how many fucking fries do you need? Do you need 8 pounds of fries, or you don't feel like you're getting a fucking deal? There's a reason you all have fucking heart problems.
The place I went to just kept bringing you bread and butter over and over.
Yeah, to fucking fill you up.
And limitless refills.
Where'd you go, Olive Garden?
No, it's a place called the Longhorn Steakhouse.
Oh yeah, it's sure. Yeah.
I've never been before.
American eateries, bro.
Is it something?
It was so good.
Is it like the Applebee's of steakhouses, Geoff?
Yeah, it's just American eatery. Like they do it
like the Outback Steakhouse in a lot of ways.
Yeah, it's exactly what it is.
It's like a cheap steakhouse.
Except not Australian themed. Except it's not Australia themed. It's more Texas themed. It was quite delicious. You can't get sweet tea in Canada. And so and I hadn't been to the US in quite some time, but the ability to have sweet tea again, I was like, oh man, I miss this.
Did you give yourself a diabetes check when you got back?
No. I was
Maybe you
I was
should.
able to enjoy. I was able to enjoy some of the things that I had forgotten that I really enjoy.
Like everything that's really terrible for you, but not only that, times 10.
Well, I mean, I don't know about that.
It was like that all-you-can-eat place that we went to, or when I ordered the small hash browns at Waffle House that time.
Medium, and they were so huge.
It was
They were
an
the rest of us had
entire
small.
fucking plate of hash browns
Yeah.
for a
And
medium. It's like,
how would you? Yeah, would you like them smothered in what color gravy? Like what? What does that even mean?
it was not my scene. The food was very good when I ate it, but like I could not finish that. It's just not a part of the portion sizing that I am
They
used
got
to.
the portions right there. They got the portions right in America.
They really don't. I mean, that's why it's so far off from the rest of the world. Why?
I guess, but I noticed it. That's the one thing I took away. I was like, I forgot how much more food they provide for you there.
And well, I even noticed it like because there's a ton in the States and in Canada, it's still pretty bountiful when you're thinking about portion sizing. Like when I went to France, it was great. Like it was enough to make you full.
Oh yeah, of course,
It was perfect. Like it wasn't a lot of food. It was just good food.
Yeah.
With like,
and there's a place for that. There's a place for that.
Reasonable size plates. Yeah, I mean when you're.
But some of us want.
To die.
There's different times. No. There's different times for different things.
You like that all the time. That's how you want it all the time.
Look, if there was a Las Vegas style buffet available to eat at every day, I would eat at it every day.
Oh,
those buffets are good, Jeff.
I know. There's the one. Yeah, the one. There's a few of them that are outstanding, but because you would try to beat the house every day. You would kill yourself.
Well, I think if I went every day, I would no longer try to beat the house every day.
It doesn't seem like very good value now, does it?
Well, maybe it would be cheaper because I'd be going more often. I get like a frequent flyer card or something.
Okay.
I don't know.
Those in Vegas, how expensive do you think those all-you-can-eat buffets are?
They were like $40-$50, at least the nice ones that I.
No, the one in Caesars is like incredible.
They can be pretty they can be pretty expensive.
Yeah, they're not cheap. The good ones are not cheap.
They're not cheap.
But
if you go with that tank empty, you get good food and lots of it.
But Tim, you'd be such a high roller, they'd be comping you like free buffet whenever you want.
I would rather be comped a free buffet over just about anything at a hotel.
More than a room?
Yeah, I think so. Well, whatever. I've already got a room if I'm there.
You pay.
I've already got a room if I'm there. I don't care about the
that
room.
you pay for.
I don't have the buffet.
Yeah, but you can pay for the. You take. I never mind.
I'm taking the buffet. I'm taking the buffet.
That is such a negative EV thing. What's wrong with you?
I don't think it is a negative EV thing because I can get more value out of tank empty Alaskan king crab leg buffet eating.
But you're paying a lot more for the room than it costs to go to the buffet. So wouldn't you want the free thing?
I'm already paying for a room.
Am I missing something?
No.
Okay, good. We can move on. I just wanted to make sure I wasn't missing it.
Okay, so we have breaking news since the show started.
Oh, really?
Yes. So this is pretty big. And it's funny because Jeff and I talked to Richard Deutsch. That will come out, I believe, next week. And, I mean, it's not completely out of date at this point, but this is very interesting to think about the conversation that Jeff and I had with him and this announcement. ESPN, Fox Sports, and Warner Brothers Discovery, which includes TNT Sports, announced Tuesday evening plans to launch a joint streaming service this fall that will include all of the company's sports properties and networks. That service, owned equally by all three parties, will include all of the relevant sports-related networks from each company: ABC, ESPN, ESPN2, ESPNU, the SEC, ACC networks, ESPN News, Fox, FS1, FS2, BTN, TNT, TBS, True TV, as well as ESPN+. So we kind of talked about this a little bit on that show, Jeff, that when would these companies consolidate everything into one product because people were getting fed up with having to pay $7 here and $8 here and having to get that streaming service and that streaming service. What they've did is basically bite the bullet and say, you know what? We'll pull all our resources together. You pay one fee in one place and you can get everything.
I love it. I feel like we, in our DMs in our group chat last week, we tweeted someone who almost said they'd pay like extra to be able to do it and to not have to switch apps when you want to go from one thing to another that's kind of in the exact same category or field of what you're already watching. This makes perfect sense. Things are getting out of hand. Like if you were a sports fan and a hardcore and you wanted access to everything and you're buying all the packages, you were all over the place. So this is great. This is good. This is it's rare for a consumer win. I think we got to chalk this up, at least in name, from what I was told.
Tim, between the three companies, the service would carry NFL games, including next year's Super Bowl, the entire NBA, NHL, and Major League Baseball playoffs, and the bulk of the NASCAR season and the World Cup, along with other properties, especially college ones going forward. So it doesn't have absolutely everything, but it has a ton of the stuff that people actually go and watch. Paul, when's the UFC deal with ESPN up?
Good question. I don't know off the top of my head.
But it's still at ESPN, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so PGA, non like mainstream PGA, so like the ESPN Plus properties and UFC would be on this as well, I'm guessing. So this is terrible news for cable. And
it is just cable. This is just basically we're living like it's 1990 again, more or less.
It is, but you pay a premium still for cable at this point, and really the only reason that people still have cable is because of the sports properties. Now they are allowing you to pay less than you would for cable to only get the sports properties. That is not good.
NBC is not involved in this, right?
They are not.
Who are a big sports
isn't NBC
property
Universal? Oh no, NBC's Discovery, isn't it?
Oh yeah, is NBC Discovery?
Because you didn't mention Sunday Night Football. You didn't mention like some of the properties that NBC has.
No, Warner Brothers.
Yeah, no, it's Warner Brothers. So yes, it is NBC.
I don't know. I do not realize that's who they're owned by. Okay.
Yeah.
And to like Pat's point, it did seem like because everything had left cable. You know, Tim's favorite dramas had left cable. The soap opera is almost leaving cable. Like cable was essentially sports and politics. And to a certain extent, you probably thought sports and politics, because the people that are into that are into it so much, maybe that is enough to have cable survive. But if you lose the sports aspect of it, then cable is dead.
I agree with that.
Warner Brothers Discovery. I just want to make sure that NBC is on that list.
I think NBC is owned by Universal.
It is Universal. It is.
Yeah, so Warner Brothers Discovery. Yeah, so you're right. So there's no NBC on there. So no Sunday Night Football, 2 golf majors, but NBC doesn't have a ton of sports.
No golf. They have the Golf Channel, so none of that would be involved in that. They have a Super Bowl every few years. They have Sunday Night Football, which is the biggest football property. So there's a few things, but yes, obviously this would be a big blow, but it's just simply, Liz Lemon's boyfriend would love it. He says technology is cyclical. This kind of is a form of cyclical technology.
Well, it's
just a better and improved version of what cable looked like in 1990.
I agree with you, but I think what this is doing right now, I think Netflix really made some waves when they signed the WWE to that $5 billion deal that, hey, now we're going to get into at least faux live sports to at least give proof of concept that we can do live sports so they can build up their artillery to actually have like an in-house producing product where they could do football and make a bid on that. Like these places, ESPN, Fox, ABC, they're also scared of Amazon and Netflix and whatever next big streaming service is going to come in and take away their properties, that if they don't band together now, it may be too late by the time that these companies figure it all out.
Well said.
Yeah, I agree with all that.
So, it might hurt their cable product overall, and they'll continue to lose subscribers. At least they can make a ton of money doing this, because if it has every football game on the slate outside of the Super Bowl that NBC has every 3 years and Sunday Night Football, then I think that most football fans will probably take that. And for that Super Bowl or for Sunday Night Football, they'll just get Peacock.
Yeah. That's
Is
a fair
Peacock
point.
off to such a great? I mean, obviously they had the playoff game, and the numbies were good, and people seem to enjoy the properties over there. But for them to not, or for like NBC Universal to not be included in this, either they're so confident in the streaming service they have, or they felt they're kind of maybe above being part of this deal.
Or they got pushed to the side and they couldn't come. They wanted, like, it says that all
Or
three
their price was too high.
yeah, it says all three of these companies are equal partners, 1/3 ownership in this new property. So I'm sure that Fox, their football rights, I mean, are pretty good. When we think about it, like that's it's probably the most valuable product of any of these things. More bulk comes from some of the other places, but other than that, like
NBC's got the Olympics too. That's their other big property. But you're talking about huge sports properties. That's what they've got.
Yes, that is true.
That's great.
Didn't think about that.
Okay.
Yeah, but for like 3 weeks in the summer this year, it's going to be the thing that people are talking about.
But it's not though. Like the Olympics continues just to, sports has gone down as a whole. It has not been as impacted as everywhere else in terms of the cable space, in terms of ratings. That has not been the case for the Olympics. Now, maybe that's because it's been in Asia for 12
Yes,
years.
I was about to say that. This is a good stress test in Paris at a time where like it's reasonable that you won't have tape delayed sports results, which you could do in 1984 because like people had no access. We had won the 50-meter swim. But in 2024, certainly they do.
Yeah. But I agree that the Olympics has lost some of the luster, clearly. But maybe from NBC Universal, they're like, we've paid so much for it, like it's not worth us sharing it, even if it is.
Yeah, those rings on that network is, that's a crown jewel that at least the people who are there are not willing to part with.
Yeah, I think that the Olympics is going to just be seen as a very bad investment at some point here. And maybe this will be a good stress test, and maybe that's what they're trying to partner with CBS to create their own product. And that's where you can have the other half of the football games.
Quite possibly. CBS is not in this?
No.
Yeah, so then that would mean all the golf majors are not in it.
That would be Paramount, right? The CBS streamer is Paramount?
Paramount.
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure that Warner Brothers and Paramount are trying to merge. So that could come along with this as well.
I think this is good for viewers.
Agreed.
But it's not a panacea yet. And I wonder if antitrust stuff would prevent everybody from joining all together at once. Maybe it wouldn't. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not
sure. Just looked,
go ahead.
NBC is through 2032 is their current Olympic
commitment.
Yeah.
That will give them the LA Olympics, right?
Yeah, and likely a Winter Olympics in North America. Probably Salt Lake City
or Vancouver, right? One of those two.
Maybe. I think Canada maybe. Feel like it's probably going to be Salt Lake though.
It would. I mean, for the Winter Olympics at this point, if you don't have new existing infrastructure, no one wants to fucking build any of this stuff anymore.
Yeah, perfectly understandable.
But I do think that this and services like this are a huge win for the cable or for the cord cutters and even people who just want to watch sports anyway. Like they can still have their Netflix, they can have Amazon in terms of watching whatever shows that they want to do, or they can get Hulu to watch stuff that's like on cable right now. But this is big for sports fans.
Until 4-5 years from now, when another startup streaming service grabs one of these things, and we're right back to where we were.
Maybe, but
that is going to happen. There will be breakaway things like this will keep happening.
But this is working. So basically, like I said, Netflix and Amazon are the big players here. Apple, they have random MLB games as a part of their contract. They have MLS. No one really cares about their sporting product. But you're getting so much of the sporting world as a part of this package that unless another one pops up that has sort of the other half of what's missing from this one, or they continue to merge, that this is their big play against Netflix, that they can pool all their money together to continue to outbid them. So it's interesting. I like this. I wonder how this affects the rest of the world in terms of sporting rights, because this will just be for the rights of the United States. How does this affect international? How does this affect Canada, Mexico? Because that was one of the big things with the WWE deal with Netflix, is that it was a complete global deal. That's why it was so much money, that Netflix is in every country, and now you can get, that's where you have to watch wrestling, in every country. When you want to watch Raw, you watch it on Netflix in South America, you watch it in Australia, you watch it in Japan, wherever it is, it's all in the same place. We know that's not exactly how it works with the NFL or golf or hockey or whatever it is, because each of these countries has their own deal. I wonder if there'd be a global play for one of these things.
I need to unlock a door.
Okay, bye. Who do you think?
Okay.
Do you think someone's coming in to kill him?
Anton Chigurh is at the door.
Yeah, he just asked very nicely. So I mean, he asked to go open it. He was asked.
Listen, friendo, would you open the door?
So we'll start digging into this right now. So there is a link. I'll put it down in the description. My good friend Matt Harrison does one of these every year, so I wanted to support him. I played it with my wife and kids filled it out because she had one for office last year. I printed it out for them. So it's $10 if you go to the site. It's called shockfantasy.com. Matt runs it. He does this pool every single year. You just buy the PDF for $10, print out as many as you want. And it's something you can bring to a party. And it's really geared for not just the most hardcore of football fans, because that's really what the Super Bowl is kind of designed for, right? Like, yes, we'll have our hardcore party, but there's going to be some very casual people there that don't know any of the teams, and they'll know Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, and Taylor Swift, and know no one on the 49ers. So people who watch it with their wives, or people who watch it with their kids and their kids' friends, whatever it is, this pool is designed for everyone to fill out a sheet. Anyone can kind of win and go through it. So I just want to get your take on some of these ones here with question 1. You ready for this, Geoff?
Yeah.
How long will it take Reba McEntire to sing the national anthem? Over 90 seconds? Under 90 seconds?
Under.
Everyone's going under. Do you have inside info on this?
Not yet. And I believe I've even seen books that say that have small maxes on it, that isn't a surprise, but saying like all bets are void past rehearsal time. So it's almost like the books have it up now, but once they know like rehearsals are scheduled, they're going to pull them, I believe, and they won't show up again like in the past when, you could rumor monger the rehearsals and make a good few bucks and have free roll some fun Super Bowl bets. Did it many a year.
Yeah, we did do that many a year. Do you think Reba is going to go over or under, Tim?
I'll be with Jeff. I'll say under. Seems like a short number, but yeah, I'm going to go with it. I don't see. She's a country singer. Feel like she's not used to carrying the long notes, so I think it's going to go under.
All right, so who during the national anthem, who will be shown on camera first? Kelce, Mahomes, Taylor Swift, or none of these people will be shown during the anthem?
I don't think Taylor Swift will be shown.
I know it is a country singer, though, right?
True, and she's in some way a country musician. Question. Mahomes will be shown, and Kelce will be shown. Who will be shown first? Kelsey's the more famous person, so it's Kelce.
I would tend to agree with Tim.
I agree with Tim. I think in this moment, in this time, for this specific game, for CBS, while still in that 6:30, the young girls are still awake. I think they let them see Kelsey's face, not hers, but Kelce before anyone. Yeah.
And so let's go down here. After the second score of the game, which of the following food commercials will be seen first, Tim? You ready? Oreo or drumsticks, mayonnaise or avocados from Mexico, Taco Bell or Popeyes, Nerds or Starburst, Doritos or Pringles, or M&M or Reese's Pieces. See,
I mean, can I, as a detour, Popeyes has new chicken wings out, I noticed, and they look delicious.
Can I bigger detour?
Sure.
Please.
Tim, Subway, your favorite Subway. Have you seen what they've done?
Yeah.
What do
So
they do?
don't like
I
it.
guess the company that bought Subway owns a lot of other like mall food places. So in the States now with Subway, they've added 3 desserts: a footlong cookie, a footlong pretzel, and like a footlong churro. And I wish we had that in Canada. I would go for a footlong pretzel.
I would try it.
I'd definitely love to hit that up. So just on the subject of new food things you've seen in the fast food space, as for the question, It's got to be Doritos or M&Ms. Like I think it's a total 2-man race here. I'll lean Doritos.
I will take M&Ms then.
Are you talking about the nacho thing in our group text thread?
People are asking questions, and I'm just trying to. I'm able to multitask, and questions are being asked, and yet another person joined the pile-on of criticism of nachos.
Well, someone said, "Who's against nachos?" And you replied, "Everyone but me, apparently." And he goes, "I mean, basically, I do in here weekly." And you just say that that's how you interpreted it. And then he said, "So someone said nachos aren't the absolute greatest, so you think that they're against you?" And then the next person said, "It sounds like insanity."
And then that conversation goes on to actually that person criticizing nachos, saying that they're at best okay and at worst inedible.
He said it's ridiculous. No, what he says is it's ridiculously priced for something you can make for $5 yourself.
Yeah, so just more criticisms of nacho orderers.
Well, also in the group nachos, did we even mention like there's a bit of a sanitary grossness to it in some respects?
I mean, that doesn't apply to me because I don't care, but like Howard Hughes over here, he probably has problems.
No, everybody grabs his or her own chip. I'm not bothered by that.
I mean, but it's not like you cut off a little bit and put it on your little mini plate like you're some sort of weirdo. You just grab from the pile.
No. You just grab from the pile and you try whatever you grab, you take.
Yeah, but it's like finger foods. It's like I don't want to be portrayed as anti-nacho. I already am trying to lose that badge here.
Yeah. I do think you can make nachos better you can make it it's such a bulk play when you go to a restaurant and 10% of them are good and the other 90% are just chips and dip.
See, now I feel like my feelings are being hurt again.
Well, I mean, that's your fucking problem that maybe you should see a therapist about. Not everything's fucking about you.
I feel like it is.
Well, then you really should probably go betterhelp.com/Mayo. Why don't you check that out, pal?
I'm all right.
It doesn't sound like it now, does it? It sounds like everyone's against you.
Well, no, in this instance, there's a lot of criticism of people who are pro nachos, which I'm, an advocate for the silent majority.
I mean, I would say that nachos is quite popular, but again, I think it's almost like what Geoff said, and like what we're saying. Everyone likes nachos. The presentation and buying them at a restaurant is just terrible value for one thing, and you can get them better in other places. Primarily, 90% of the time, you can make them better by yourself.
I wish I knew how to do Uber Eats, because I'd Uber Eat some nachos right now.
Oh my God, that's what you would Uber Eats is nachos?
And that'd be gross, because that'd be soggy. That'd be a bad Uber Eats.
That'd be like the worst
bad play.
Why wouldn't you just make them in the fucking air fryer in the fucking first place?
No, I'm not going to do that.
So you'd rather get soggy nachos delivered to you cold and then reheat them in an air fryer when you could just make them in your own fucking air fryer and have them right away?
Yes.
You don't think that sounds insane?
No.
Tim, hear me out. If you put the same effort into making nachos at home that you do to oatmeal, you'd probably have a ton of fun.
I have made nachos at home in the past. I like to individually dress each chip. But I can't do it as well as the restaurants do them.
You probably do it better, actually.
I don't agree.
The dressing of it, like the proportioning of it, equal.
I'm on Team Scoops. I buy the scoops, and I dress each individual scoop with the stuff. And I put it in the oven, and I heat it up. And they're really good, but they're not restaurant quality.
You're not going to get better than that at a restaurant, because each of the nachos that you eat is going to be tailored specifically to what you like, and there's no waste on it.
I don't agree.
That seems insane.
Okay, well, we just disagree on this subject. That's okay.
It doesn't seem like it's okay.
I didn't bring this back up. You brought this back up.
Well, you brought it back up because you're not even paying attention to the show. You're on a text thread fighting with people.
Well, just outrageous things are being said about nachos. I felt like I needed to.
What, that they weren't the greatest thing of all time, and that's outrageous? And how you prefer to order them, have them take 40 minutes to get to you just so you can fucking heat them up? Instead of being so fucking lazy that you can't make them yourself?
If I could Uber Eat some nachos, I would right now.
Do it. Do it right now.
I don't know how.
What do you mean you don't know how? You
I don't know
invalid?
how.
You can't figure shit out?
Yeah,
Why don't you
keep yelling at me?
Why don't you Google how do I download Uber Eats and pay for it? You were marveled that I was able to replace the window in my car through YouTube. This is a fucking app.
That was, but I don't like putting I don't like putting my credit card information.
Again, something you should probably talk to someone about, because this is fucking outrageous.
Okay, well, that's how you feel. That's fine.
You in the year 2024, you can't put a credit card on an app?
I don't like doing that. I don't
What?
feel comfortable.
What's not to feel comfortable about?
It's just not something I like to do. I'm sorry. You know this.
But
I feel
eventually
like
you have
one
to
of your-
change.
One of your elders told you never to do this, and you're taking it as total gospel.
I guess. I'm not sure where I got it from, but
No,
Yeah,
look,
dude.
I remember being a kid, like younger, and my mom being so apprehensive about me using her credit card to like to get concert tickets or something. But that was in the day where it was a little still like
Unknown.
less totally safeguarded, like I believe it is now, especially from somewhere like an Uber Eats or a major retailer.
Yeah, I had my credit card compromised like 4 days ago. I got a text about it immediately. Everything that was charged on it was like $60 or something like that. Got charged back. They canceled it, immediately expressed me a new one. But because I have Apple Pay and everything is interlinked, the brand new card just populated on my phone instantly. So I was never without a card.
Fantastic.
Very easy stuff. And I was able to use Uber Eats later that night because, I can use Uber Eats. But why don't you just get the credit card with the small limit then, Tim?
I don't know.
So you've tried nothing and you're all out of ideas.
I guess so. I'm just stuck in my ways.
But you complain about not being able to do these things when you could most definitely do them very easily, even set up in a way where even if there was a downside, there would be no downside. And if someone charges something to your credit card, they're not stealing your identity. You get all the fucking money back. It's more accountability than anything else. You got nothing, do you?
I understand what you're saying, but I just don't feel comfortable.
When you travel and you buy a flight, do you not put it on the card that has the best travel insurance?
And I do, and I don't like doing it, but I do it. I bite the bullet.
So you can do it for that, but you can't do it for anything else? That doesn't make any sense. So you're fine doing it in some circumstances, but not in other circumstances?
I guess that's what I'm saying.
You see how that doesn't make any sense, right?
He trusts the airlines.
I guess I do. I can't explain it any other way.
Mind-boggling. All right, let's talk about props before we get out of here. I will be doing the best bet show with Rob and Cam on Thursday, where I will reveal my 3 top props, but I'll give out an alternate right now. Deebo Samuel, Jeff, over 77.5 receiving yards, plus 205.
Oh. I love it. I should get on the ladder because I'm on Deebo over 4.5 receptions. I'm on Deebo over 14.5 rushing yards. He got 3 carries in the last game. In the last Super Bowl, he had 50 rushing yards. These two teams played on 3 carries. Would you say alt 77? I will piggyback that as well. I'll be laddering all through the Deebo.
Do you have any of your own or just taking mine?
I just gave 2 that I really like. George Kittle over 47.5 yards. The Chiefs have those great corners on the outside. Spags is going to send the blitzes, the exotics, just nice, easy designs for Kittle. Get that emotion going. George Kittle over 47.5 receiving yards.
It sounds like you might like Purdy over passing yards.
No, I'm not really into Purdy passing yards. I think Purdy interceptions parlayed with the Chiefs win is something else I could, like I joked, could be doing. Because I'm scared of that.
RunTheSims.com, completely free. The prop sniper likes Brock Purdy under interceptions at plus 115.
What's the number of interceptions?
0.5.
If Brock Purdy doesn't throw an interception, the 49ers are winning the football game.
He could fumble, though. He could be sack fumbled. Fair enough, but I don't agree.
If Brock Purdy doesn't turn the ball over.
Okay.
49ers are going to win this football game. But I like all like the Pacheco carries. I believe he's getting the heavy lift in this game. I've tailed the first quarter under, which I feel so dirty about, but everyone seems to think that's like a Super Bowl moneymaker. Let's see.
Alt rush yards. You can get Christian McCaffrey over 111.5, Tim, at plus 205.
I don't love that.
Okay.
Which
because I think the 49ers are going to be behind. in the game. I don't think he's going to run as much. I like Alt Pacheco is one of mine, actually. Alt Pacheco over 100 yards plus 400, which makes sense since I think he's going to be an MVP. That's the sort of thing he has to do, right? So those are correlated.
I mean,
Which
hold
non-Christian
on. You can play Pacheco over 103.5 at 5-1.
Okay, I'm just looking at DK Sportsbook, and that's what
this is at. Are you just looking at like 100, or are you looking at actual alt rushing overs?
I'm looking at the rush yards
Milestone or
X.
alt?
Rush yards X.
No, you want to go to alt rush yards. Because for 3 yards, an extra 100 points on the betting line is
right.
more than worth it.
Yeah, so plus 155 to go over 100. I like that.
But I have a really important.
Hold on. What'd you say it was?
The 100 plus,
Yeah.
and it's plus 155.
Okay, you can get over 103.5 rushing yards at DraftKings Sportsbook for 5-1.
I guess I just don't see where this is.
Where are you looking?
It's under rushing props, alt rush yards, and then
We were just looking in different spots. Okay, yes, you're right. You can get that over 103 for
5-1
plus 500.
Yeah, which is a significantly better number.
Yeah, I agree with you on that.
So,
But I like the Pacheco over. I like the 49ers under. The 49ers over 1.5 3 and outs in the game. I think they're going to have trouble settling in. It's a minus 120 prop, but I think they're going to have trouble settling into this game, getting comfortable. I think in the first half, there'll be at least 2 3 and outs from San Francisco. And that's the way I'm going to play this.
okay. I also like San Francisco minus 115, Jeff, most red zone trips.
Okay. I have a really important question for how I like to bet Super Bowls. Who is the go-to backup tight end for Kansas City? Is it Gray or Watson?
It's no Watson's not a tight end, so the answer would have to be Noah Gray.
Yeah, Gray.
Justin Watson's not a tight end. I believe Blake Bell is their third string tight end.
Justin Watson.
If you wanted to get more value on your Mahomes MVP, you could parlay that, right? With like ROM top 10.
Are they offering top 10 markets for live?
They are.
Then sure, if you wanted to do that. I wouldn't do that because that's not something that I do. That sounds like something Jeff does. Blake Bell, yes, is their third string tight end. Justin Watson's just a receiver.
Fooled me. White guy wearing 84.
Not white.
Lining up inside.
Not a white guy.
I've been tricked this whole time. Okay, less dumb question, less embarrassing question. Which non-Christian McCaffrey scoring a rushing touchdown for the 49ers this week or this weekend?
Who would it be, do you think? I mean,
Yeah.
Debo.
Debo would have to be the favorite unless you really think that Juszczyk gets in.
Or
I feel
Isaiah
like
Mitchell.
Juszczyk
Or
is
Elijah
the,
Mitchell, sorry.
I feel like for a fullback, Juszczyk is like way too public on all his shtick, all of it. But Kyle Shanahan's always known to throw in a little Juszczyk blood dump, little Juszczyk goal line. His wife does all those designing.
Justin Watson is white. I did not know that. You were right, Jeff. I'm an idiot.
All right, well, we can share the idiot on that one. I am.
If you've noticed this year in the props, the coin toss is a plus 100. There's no VIG anymore. So taking tails at plus 100.
There you go.
Nothing wrong with that.
You know what? You are absolutely correct. There is nothing wrong with a coin flip that is even money. That is absolutely true.
So there you go. They're giving you just a free bet if you want to, a free 50-50. I love it.
I mean,
Take tails. It doesn't fail.
It is a free 50-50, but you would have given it out at minus 110 too.
I mean, I just think tails probably should always be favored in this thing because it's just the way it goes. But that's not rational. That's just I believe tails is going to come. Just like when I play rock, paper, scissors, I'm always a paper person.
That does not surprise me.
Because people love to go rock first. So
Yeah.
paper.
Or I mean, if you go
Covers
rock,
rock
or,
and beats it.
or if you have rock or scissors, you have two aggressive items. So you just want paper, the guy who hides in the corner.
The guy who if I assume my opponent's going to be aggressive and come out with rock, my paper beats him.
Do you win rock, paper, scissors often?
I think I do.
See,
I have no.
But you
I have,
think you think a lot of things that aren't true.
Well, I have no documented proof of this. I can't prove it. But if we were to do a rock paper scissors tournament, I feel like I would win.
I don't.
Okay.
You just pick paper every time. You just gave away your strategy.
I like "Yeah" by Usher to be the first song.
Is it because it's the only Usher song you know?
That's not true. I know some others. I know OMG, for example.
Do you? Let's hear
No, I can't sing it.
Let's hear a little bit of it.
No, I don't want to do that.
Is it because you only know OMG because you saw it on the list of songs that he might play?
I listened to it today, but before that, I don't think I knew it.
I will say to people my age, like at least and my wife's age, Usher's top of the shelf. Usher's top of the shelf.
I'm the same
I
age
could
as
come
you.
home from this Super Bowl. My wife could be in a mood. I'll put it that way. Usher does it. Usher does it.
Well, at least you clinched the cold open at the very end of the show, Jeff.
Listen, let's hope. Let's hope I hit a future. Then my wife's in the mood later. The Super Bowl starts early, so it doesn't even go like late like a Sunday night football game does.
Do you got sitter? You got the sitter all lined up?
No, my wife's not coming. We've got the newborn. It's just not like yeah, the whole troop isn't coming to the Super Bowl party, but I won't be with my wife. I'll be with my friends' wives. Even better.
Okay.
A reminder
Jeff.
too to people that wow. A reminder to people for Live that it starts tomorrow.
Actually, that's actually a helpful reminder. Thank you.
I did not know that. Live is
what?
Live is ridiculous.
Well, no, maybe it doesn't start tomorrow, but it ends on Saturday. So I guess if it's a 3-round tournament, it actually starts on Thursday.
So you don't even know when it starts.
I know it's not going up against the Super Bowl because it's in Las Vegas.
Tim, do you not agree the hubris to be hosting this event?
I actually think it's smart because this is a way to drive fans to your event.
No, I'll tell you, it's only smart. It would only have been smart if today or tomorrow, John Rahm, Phil Mickelson, Ty Hatton, Cam
Smith they should have done the car wash.
Are paraded through Radio Row.
I agree with that. They should have.
You know what? These jabroni radio guys, they would have licked Phil Mickelson's feet for 10 minutes of a one-on-one.
You're right. They should have gone through the car wash.
So I don't know what they're doing in Vegas. They think they can break through the sports psyche versus the Super Bowl and the equity that the Phoenix has. It seems like it's a level of hubris beyond to think that they should be playing this week.
I think they're just going to a place the weekend where there's going to be a ton of fans and people are going to be looking for something to do on the Thursday and Friday and Saturday.
Of fans is grossly overrated.
And they'll go to the game and they'll go to the golf.
And commercial and like corporate people. The amount of actual fans, I think, is an overblown statement. Do you think people are going to live over Fan Fest?
You're not going to do Fan Fest for 3 days. That's the thing.
You think you're going to live
fair.
Instead of gambling?
You'll see. I think there'll actually be decent crowds because of that. Just like next year, I think they should go to New Orleans for an event.
The crowds on the ground might be one thing, but to me, it's useless if they don't break through in like the sports consciousness this week.
I agree.
I believe doing the Radio Row car wash would have done more for Live than any tournament. I
agree.
Even if Liv wasn't in Vegas, Norman should have put guys on the plane and said, you all, like the 5 of you, you're all going through the car wash.
I mean, I agree 100%. And yeah, it is a Thursday to Saturday event this week.
I agree with you too. That would have been the better game plan for Live. The weird thing about it is, maybe they do get some spillover because I believe they're having it just off the strip, so you can like walk to it if you want to. So there might be some people going to check it out. But you're also in the one city where there's just a ton of stuff to do. It's not like, well, there's the Super Bowl. If we don't want to do Super Bowl stuff, we have to go do Live stuff. No, there's like 8,000 other things you can do.
You're right. The idea being like you've got a lot of people coming to the Super Bowl who are sports fans. And if they're sports fans, then they're also the types of people that might be interested in seeing John Rahm and Phil Mickelson, relatively cheaply and up close.
You could still buy I was sent a thing on Twitter from 4 hours ago on Liv's website for $10,000. You can buy your way still into tomorrow's Pro-Am if you want.
Cheaper
I
than
believe
going to
it.
the Super Bowl.
Yeah. And probably more fun.
Well, we were trying to figure out, Tim was talking about New Orleans next year, Geoff, and how much it was going to cost to go to that game because the Jets are going to be in it. He's already priced himself out. It
It's
wasn't
too expensive.
It wasn't $1,000 like he thought it was going to be.
Far too expensive. Can't be afforded. I thought it may be like 4,000 or 5,000 tops, but no.
Like, just think about the lodging.
Yeah, the lodging is the bigger issue. It's always been the bigger issue. Lodging anywhere like close to the actual action is impossible because you're not looking for your game tickets until you're in like the conference final. But the lodging you've got to book a year in advance.
Is Cam down there?
No, Cam didn't go. New Orleans seems amazing.
Yeah, New Orleans would be one of the
interesting,
best
Tim,
cities for it. Yeah.
That two of the brand new, like I'd say there's like five main Super Bowl cities, I would argue. Maybe six.
Let's do that. Best Super Bowl cities.
Well, right now the main ones are
Miami,
Los Angeles,
Glendale.
I don't think that Los Angeles is a good Super Bowl city.
No,
but it's going to be in that rotation.
They're going to be in.
Yeah, but
like,
I'm just talking. I'm talking about like what are the actual best ones?
Oh, I would think it's New Orleans
or
Miami,
New Orleans, Miami, Vegas, and I think Glendale because you've got the tournament going on that week, and the weather is fantastic, and so
owners, corporate folk, they love headed to the
they've
Scottsdale.
had three Super Bowls. They've had 3 Super Bowls there in the last 15 years, so it's totally in the rotation. I think it's a good spot for it.
So you have a big five of permas, which I believe is now Las Vegas, Los Angeles, Miami, Arizona, New Orleans, and then to me you have 2 peripheral other ones that are often used, which are Tampa and San Francisco.
Yes.
So I believe that is like, but I believe Tampa and San Francisco are a level behind the 5 that I mentioned. And in terms of current stadium projects that could get a Super Bowl, Buffalo does have one, but they would never.
No.
The league wouldn't even promise them one. And Nashville is building something brand new. I would think the league would go there, or at least try it.
Would. They totally. If Nashville had a domed stadium, the 100% would go there. The Final Four would go there. Absolutely, all that would happen.
So where is? I'm just seeing the Caesar Superdome. Like, how close to like the downtown area in New Orleans is that? It's very close, right?
I assume New Orleans is not a very big city.
Yeah, but that's like it's in the city, though, isn't it?
I believe it is. Yes.
I don't have a sense of the city, but I feel like we've seen video that shows like you're pretty much pulling up from like the crowded party streets, and you can see the Superdome.
It looks like from looking at the map here, it's like just adjacent to the French Quarter. It's pretty down there, right by the Central Business District.
Yeah, it says it's a 22-minute walk from Bourbon Street. Like, it's very close. So I think that would be my biggest key when thinking about, like, that's why I don't think that Miami is a great place for a Super Bowl, because Joe Robbie isn't necessarily like it's not in South Beach.
No, it's not.
Like, it's out of the way.
No. It's having been there. No, it's nowhere close to South Beach. It's probably 30 minutes. But
Miami could be the favorite ancillary stuff.
Sure,
but the weather is perfect.
But like New Orleans is great because it's in the city. You can go do things, and the stadium is there. That's going to be the same case for the Super Bowl in Vegas as well. Like, it's on the Strip, basically. That you can get yourself from the Strip to the stadium very quickly. So you can party beforehand, you can party afterwards, do whatever. Like, that's what I find the biggest problem with some of these places is like, Detroit would actually be pretty good if it wasn't the middle of February in Detroit, because Ford Stadium is like super accessible. You can get
they're getting
the
Final
easily.
Four. They're getting the Final Four again in a couple of years.
Minnesota was good for that too, because Minnesota's was right downtown.
It sure was. Not next year. The year after is going back to San Francisco for Super Bowl 60, but not really San Francisco, Santa Clara, which isn't near anything.
Yeah, it's in the middle of nowhere. It'd be like having it in Foxborough.
And also, not gonna lie, Tampa, like, that's by the airport. It's not exactly like a happening part of St. Petersburg. There's not much going around there. And as I mentioned earlier, it's actually weird. I don't know what happened. I looked up today. I read a thing about how there's like a design flaw that has hurt Dallas, and that's the reason. Like, you would have thought they would have gotten it back. Their first one was a horrible ice storm where everyone had a horrible week. you think Jerry's world would have been worthy of a second try. That was Packers Steelers. It's been forever.
Same with Lucas Oil Field, which hosts like every fourth
but
Final
they're not
Four.
looking.
Like, and that's right downtown, and that's a huge sports city. They had one Super Bowl there. It's the headquarters of the NCAA. That's where, like I said, every third or fourth Final Four is played.
They had one Super Bowl, right?
That was the second.
They got their one Super Bowl by getting the tax
but it's such a
money
great
to build
city. It's such a great sports city.
It's like Minnesota. You got the city, you got the government funding to build it. All we will promise you is one. We're never promising to go back. I promise you, the executives at Pepsi and the league's partners have no interest in going back there. I don't think they're going back there.
And Cowboy Stadium falls into the same thing as some of these other ones. Like, obviously, you can't guarantee that there's going to be great weather, although that, like, ice storm was a complete outlier for Dallas. But it's in between Fort Worth and Dallas. Like, it's not in Dallas. It's in Arlington. That it just... I don't know. Remember,
and Houston is already on the semi-rotation.
Oh, Houston's
had a couple. Houston's sort of on a semi-rotation.
Where's the NRG Stadium now?
Yeah, they've had two at least. They had the Patriots and Panthers, and also Patriots and Falcons were at NRG Stadium.
I completely forgot about NRG. I think I'd put them with that Tampa,
the periphery group,
the Tampa Santa Clara tier.
It seems to be closer to the middle, like downtown core, like the vibrant core of the city in Houston, than some of the other ones are.
We got to pour one out when we're talking about Super Bowl cities.
San Diego was great for it.
It was literally the gem. The people adored it. The owners loved it. It was
too close to the border for the Oakland Raiders center, though. Didn't he go crazy and run into Mexico?
It caught my grandpa in trouble and a couple Raiders and that Raider in trouble over the years. But yeah,
that's why that was such a memorable Super Bowl, because the Raiders should have crushed Tampa.
Remember
in that
his name?
Barrett Robbins.
I think it was like Brent Romberg or something, but maybe you got it right.
Is he the center?
The center who went AWOL the day of the Super Bowl or something. That was the game where like there was all kinds of accusations that maybe Callahan was trying to help out John Gruden by not winning the Super Bowl by changing the game plan like the night before. There was all kinds of crazy conspiracy talk about that game, because like a team with Jerry Rice and Tim Brown and Rich Gannon and Garner should have crushed that Tampa team, as good as their defense was.
That defense was awesome, though. I mean, we've seen that play itself out in Super Bowls time after time, and that's maybe why you might be right about this one, that the Chiefs' defense is just going to be too much, and when you get to the big moment, your offense stalls because of a big moment. It takes a while to get going. A defense can just crush you into submission. We've seen that happen.
And I don't trust Brock Purdy. Honestly, like Jimmy G had a chance to win the Super Bowl and lost it. I think Brock Purdy's kind of the same guy.
I think this team is better, though. I mean, there is one more stadium that I wanted to point out where I don't think they'll ever have it, but it's in a perfect spot. Like, I would go to this Super Bowl because I think like the vibes would be off the chart. The Seahawks Stadium is downtown Seattle. That would be a fun Super Bowl. The Steelers too. Like the Steelers one's downtown too, isn't it?
Yeah, it doesn't really snow in the Pacific Northwest.
Maybe you get like shit weather. It'd be cold and rainy.
Yeah, I mean they did go to New York for one. Like I guess they owed New York City that.
When you build, it got to the point in the league where if you were building one of these buildings, you were just getting a Super Bowl.
If it was domed, unless you're New York.
Unless you were New York. And I don't think that didn't go well enough for them to be clamoring to go back.
No, that'll never happen.
And they actually got lucky with the weather.
It was a snowstorm the next day.
Yeah.
That was Seattle, Denver, right? The first play was a safety.
Sure was.
Yeah.
But MetLife's also in a terrible location. Like it's not
horrible.
Like it's quick to get to. It would take you forever to get out of there, I suppose. But it's not like, hey, the game's over. Let's go walk somewhere. It's like, no, that's not happening. You're in fucking Jersey. So the last thing I wanted to point out, this is it's not really a hinge Super Bowl for Kyle Shanahan, but Kyle Shanahan is basically just Andy Reid until Andy Reid went to Kansas City, right?
Sort of.
Like he's got his team to the championship game basically every year. He's been to the Super Bowl. He's lost. He's back in the Super Bowl now. And for years, all anyone could talk about is how Andy Reid was a gag artist. He chokes all the time. He's not really that good of a coach. There's something to be said about getting your team to the championship game every year. And now the second Super Bowl. And even if Kyle Shanahan loses this game, it's going to be hangover him again. It's like, is he a coach who can actually even get you over the hump? It's like he got you there twice in 5 years. You have to think he's a pretty good coach.
So you're absolutely right, Pat. And if you just revisit what Twitter was like at halftime of that NFC title game, it was everything you said. Like how people were talking about Kyle Shanahan, like another loser, not ready for big game, worst big game coach like we've seen since Andy Reid. So that was literally the discourse on Twitter at halftime of that Lions game.
It's one of those things where you're always a choke artist until you finally get there. Isn't that, I guess, the case?
Yeah, especially when you're highly touted, as both Reid and Shanahan are, for their tactical prowess, but also known for making in-game blunders when it comes to clock management or stuff like that, or challenges.
Sure, but
Both teams are pretty
but show me a coach that doesn't have all that shit on their resume. I think it's because they like Kyle Shanahan, and this happens to a lot of successful people, that you would almost get lesser coaches. Like someone like Mike Vrabel got to the AFC Championship game one year. It's like, oh my God, guy knows how to coach a big game. But the guy that gets there every year but loses in the Super Bowl is like, well, he can't coach in a big game. He sucks. Like he's a victim of his own success in a weird way.
I agree. No, I agree with that.
We see that with golf, right? Guys that we want to see win tournaments, but they contend a lot but don't win. Like a Fleetwood as an example in that sort of regard. But then one guy just comes in, wins one time, and he's like just the proven winner, right?
Well, yeah, exactly. And this is something that we pointed out with Rory. Now, Rory is Rory a choke artist? Yeah, maybe in major championships. He's had
maybe.
I mean, he's won 4. It just he hasn't won any in a decade. But the reason that it constantly gets piled on Rory is because he's actually in contention in all these majors.
That's right. He had to be in the last group at St. Andrews to throw that Open away. He had to be in the last group of the U.S. Open to throw that U.S. Open away.
Yeah,
he wasn't 44th.
Rory's career, weirdly enough, in the public discourse, would actually seem better if he just came 50th at all the majors instead of second.
No, it's true. It's definitely true.
And it makes
it's exactly what happens. Why people love Brooks Koepka, because when Brooks is in contention, he wins. Otherwise, he's nowhere to be seen.
But that flip,
you're forgetting about the 4 times he was in contention and didn't win.
That
people
flip
don't
for a
talk
while.
about that with Brooks.
Because
he won that one last year.
Because he got the one last year. If Rory ends up winning the Masters this year, the narrative will flip on him again. It's like, oh yeah, he was able to do it. And then in retrospect, it's like, oh my God, have you seen the amount of top 5 finishes that Rory has at majors? What a big game player. Like, could you imagine the discourse around Jack Nicklaus for a guy that came second place in like 30 majors?
Yeah.
Despite winning 18 of them? Like that, because that's how people's minds work now. It's really bizarre. Anyway, that will do it on the Pat Mayo Experience. I want to thank everyone, especially you good people out there, and Tim and Cust.
Who did the coin take in the Super Bowl?
Kansas City.
It's Coin and I versus you two.
And before we go, I'd like to apologize. Sometimes we get in front of these microphones. I say some dumb things. I'm known to do it. Andy Reid has 6 beautiful grandchildren. If he wants to retire, there's a lot for him to retire for, and I'll eat it. When you won your first Super Bowl, I said, stop acting like you just won triplets. Well, whether it happens Sunday or next year or the year after, your triplets, they're inevitable. Congratulations. I'm so jealous of a grown man who could decorate his personal space as a 3-time Super Bowl champion. Like, I'm jealous. Okay? There.
We'll be back early on Monday morning with a Super Bowl recap, the 3 of us. And then, Geoff, I'll talk to you off air, but I have an idea for an extra show we can shoot that day for the week after, too, to keep the peoples engaged with the 3 of us.
Love it.
Custy Awards. You got to vote in them. It's completely free to vote, and we don't have any sponsors for any of the categories yet, but I am open for any of your sponsorship for the Custy Awards. You want to have the Geico Most Insane Person of the Year? Well, that's on the table if you want to reach out to me and sponsor the award. We'll find that out. We might even do the debate once I get back from vacation as well. So I want to thank you all for watching. Thank you for being with us all football season. We really do appreciate it, and we hope that you do stick around in the off season for some of the different shows and stuff that we have lined up for you. All right? Smash the like on the way out. I'm Pat Mayo. I'll see you next time.
Pat Mayo Experience! Experience!